Does the wife or the woman has a right to divorce her husband? Yes, Islam was the first, I think, given the circumstances, meaning 1500 years ago, permitted woman that if she was forced, I think, to marry a person whom she did not like, or afterwards there were difference of opinion or some kind of dispute which is irreconcilable, then woman has a recourse. She could go, I think, to the Qadi and state her case and can obtain divorce. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, being a patriarchal society, everything was ruled or dominated by men, and most of the time they interpreted also the Islamic laws and principles according to their convenience or according, I think, to their selfish motives. But divorce is permitted, and in the last, I think, century, all the Muslim countries have allowed, and Muslim women have recourse. They go to the court and obtain divorce. So I think this is also a total misconception that women do not have a right. One good example, I think it is known, there are various types of divorce, I think, given in the Islamic law, and the simple way of divorce, woman seeking divorce at the earlier stage, meaning before 2 years, 3, 5, or 10 years, that if she found out that she cannot live with her present husband, then in those days what she had to do, because there was a custom of giving, like as we have here in Hindu tradition, called dahej, meaning that the woman is given a dowry, and so that dowry, whatever it is, and again the purpose of dowry also there is misconception. It is for the benefit of the woman, that in case the dowry again has to be given sometimes straight away, directly, whatever agreed, let's say 10,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, according to the social standing or the income of the husband. And that could be given, meaning directly, one payment before the nikah or the marriage ceremony is performed, or it could be given half as advance and half at the later stage. And again, the purpose is that if it is agreed 50,000, meaning the dowry, 25,000 is given as advance, and let's assume that after 3 or 4 months or 6 months, woman seeks divorce. So in that case, the husband has to give the remaining portion of that dowry to the woman. He divorces. So in that way, it is for the protection of the woman. And as I said, so let me come back to the earlier the question, that if woman wants divorce from her husband and the husband has given 50,000, might be the whole amount at meaning as advance, or might be 50%. So what woman has to do, has to return that dowry fully, meaning full amount. If it was half payment, so 25,000 or 50,000, if she returns, then she can get the divorce. There is no Islamic law which would prevent that she could not get it, because only condition is that she has to return the dowry. So that's it.
Thank you, Professor. Uh, we would like to discuss about another very debatable and controversial issue of burqa. Uh, for more than 30 years, I am listening many misconceptions, many beliefs, and many interpretation or wrong interpretations about practice of burqa. And the practices about the burqa are different in different sects of the Islam, and different countries, Islamic countries also it is different. So basically, we are interested in knowing what Quran and what Islam basically says about burqa.
Veiling of woman is in a way debatable or controversial issue, and again I think that has risen especially during the last 100 years. So let's try to tackle it. According to the historical sources, the veiling of women did not prevail in the early history or early centuries of Islam. Probably it was introduced later on, and for the introduction of this veiling, Arabs either, so to say, blame either the Byzantium, meaning the Christian rule or the rulers, or the Sasanian, the Iranian Empire, because there the ruling, uh, meaning the group of the ruling authorities and their women folks, in order to differentiate themselves from ordinary women, they use some kind of veil or different dress so that they will not be associated, or they would be easily distinguishable that they belong to the ruling class. So I don't want to go into this question of veiling, because probably it did prevail before Islam, even in the Byzantine Empire or the Sasanian Empire. Leaving that aside, let's go back. I think what are the sources of the Quran? The two major sources are first the Quran and the second the Sunnah. Let's leave this second source Sunnah aside right now. Quran, meaning I'm not the only one, there are hundreds and thousands of scholars, and even the Sheikhul Azhar, the most prestigious religious authority in the Islamic world, about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, this was a very controversial issue, especially in France, because the France has gone through religious oppression, and so that's why I think they are afraid that why Muslim women should be given the special privilege to have the veil or the parda or whatever you call it. They didn't like it and they did not approve it. That in the public places, Muslim women, like other women, that should not wear the veil. So uh, the religious authority in Cairo, the Sheikhul Azhar, also permitted that yes, France has a right to regulate, because and when the Muslims live in that country, they have to abide by the law of the land. So this was again his ruling. Number of Muslims, scholars or religious authorities did not like. But as I said, this is a disputable area. So let's discuss it. And according to me, as well as number of, I would say, progressive thinkers, there is no clear-cut evidence in the Quran that women should be veiled. Only there are four places in the Quran which, again, I do not have any references handy for me to give you, but as I said, that the veil is not stipulated in the Quran. What I would say, generally, Quran stipulates that both men and okay, so there is no, as I said, clear stipulation in the Quran for the veiling. What Quran advocates, modest or decorum dress for both men as well as women. And in that way, one only there is one verse where hijab is mentioned, and that again occurs, I think, in relation to the wives of the Prophet, that people used to come, and I think when Prophet used to invite them for lunch or dinner, they would come early, they would stay late, and then would gossip with the wives of the Prophet. And so the Prophet there requested that this is not good, and So this revelation came that if Prophet invites you, come and eat and leave. Do not spend time, so to say, gossiping around with the women and, so to say, gathering around the kitchen and other things. And there it is said that if you want anything, if you need to ask for anything from the Prophet's wives, then ask it from, it is Arabic word is min wara a hijabin, meaning from behind a barrier or from behind a curtain. And then the other Quranic verses, remaining Quranic verses, says that it is good for the hearts of the women as well as for your hearts. So this is the only thing, and as I said, that in hijab in Arabic has number of meanings. It does not mean that you have to cover the woman from head to toe. This is, I think, imposed probably later on, and this became an Islamic dogma, but this is not the Islamic teaching. There are a number of examples, meaning I can, let me give you, I think, two most daring example, that the Fatima, the youngest daughter who lived, meaning for a few months after the death of the Prophet, she has a dispute with the first caliph. She demanded, I think, her share of the Prophet's the property, and she had to go and plead her case before the caliph. So again, the question is what? Did she go and veiled herself? There are no clear-cut evidence. Another good example is that the Battle of the Camel, where Aisha rode the camel and she more or less led the her army against Ali. So where is the veil? Meaning what? Was she totally covered and putting and sitting in the palki on the camel's back and directing? No, that is quite wrong. So in short, as I said, that there is no Quranic stipulation. If someone wants to argue, okay, I'm ready. I can argue and I can, so to say, prove my point. The another thing is they would say that, well, but there are number of traditions in the Sunnah. The Sunnah says that women should be dressed properly and they should be kept in house. I think another big dispute about the prophetic hadith or tradition is how authentic they are. It's a major dispute, and again, I don't want to go into the detail because again, it is a disputed area, and the authenticity of the hadiths is very much questionable.
Professor Punawala, yes, I wanted to clarify about the last misconception which is prevailing mostly among the Muslims, and it is also different in different sects of Islam. So, what Islam and Quran says about keeping beard, whether it is compulsory or what is the purpose of keeping beard? What Islam says.
Beard, I think that keeping beard, as we look into the history of Islam 1500 years ago, yes, in those days, meaning people used to keep beard, meaning there was no what we call it like nowadays clean shaved, and there is no stipulation in the Quran, meaning the basic book of the Quran, that the men has to grow the beard. It is known as the Sunnat al-Nabi, meaning the Sunnah of the Prophet. And again, as I said, the Sunnah of the Prophet